I thought the City Robin X from Euphree was a well thought out bike, with gear from all the higher brands like Kenda, Bafang, Tektro, and Samsung. Euphree is a Texas-based company, and you know what they say about Texas. What do they say about Texas? So let's dive into the Robin X and see if bikes that are made in Texas are better. So why do I think this is a well thought out bike? Well, first, these guys just didn't throw a bunch of high-end gear on a crappy frame. They took some time in making this look nice. If you look close, you won't see any welding marks by the head tube or down by the pedals. It's all nice and smooth. It's a small thing, but it makes a bike look better. And then you have the paint job that seems to sparkle and change colors in the sun. Another small yet significant thing in the overall look and feel of the bike is the shiny and cool logo on the head tube. And then above that is the fully wrapped wiring. There's no loose or dangling wires. Everything is nice and tight. Moving down the frame, you got 2 places for water bottles. Most companies only give you 1. And then in the back, there's a rear rack, which is welded to the frame. Now here you can't see the scars, but I didn't think it looked that bad. And the reason why they welded this to the frame is to give it a higher carrying capacity. This can hold 100 pounds. And these guys make a cool quick release basket for about $100 more. Next up is the higher end aluminum fenders, another small thing that makes a bike look good. And then they've added some lightweight Wellgo pedals. Now here's something I've never seen, and that's the rear tire lock. Once you add the key, you can slide the lever that shoots out a steel rod, locking the tire. Euphree not only focused on the smaller, intricate details of the bike, but also the bigger stuff like the higher-end micro shifter. And then there's the nicer throttle with a textured rubber pad. That felt nice and didn't make my thumb sore as I put the miles on. Next are the stitched imitation leather grips. That also felt nice, and I liked how they matched the saddle. I felt it tied the bike together. The control pad was nicer feeling and had durable buttons that didn't take a lot of pressure to engage. And then there's the bell. It's cool looking, it works well, and feels like it's gonna last. I also like the headlight placement. Usually it's above the tire, here it's on the handlebars. Before I talk about the last few features I liked about the X, here's a few things that I didn't like. The first is the adjustable stem. I never liked this design either because it doesn't work or it doesn't hold tight for very long. Now this does work, I was able to adjust it, but after a couple hours of riding, it did come loose. And that's after I tightened it as hard as I could. I understand why they went this route. It's a convenient way to make the bike more comfortable because you can adjust your posture and the length of the cockpit to fit a variety of sizes. In fact, the bike has a rider size rating of 5'3" up to 6'4", but I'd just like to see a different way of going about it. The second thing I didn't like was how far the throttle was away from the grip. Usually I place my palm on the wing side of the grip because the pressure is distributed through a wider area and therefore more comfortable. But when using the throttle, I did have to move away from that sweet spot to reach it. It's not a huge deal, just something I noticed. And then there's the dim LCD screen. It is hard to see in full sunlight, even when it's turned up all the way. And the last thing I didn't like is the motor noise when climbing about a 5% grade hill, topping the bike out. Now again, it's only when climbing just a small hill. Other than that, the bike was very quiet. The final features of why I thought the X was a well thought out bike has to do with comfort. This may be one of the most comfortable commuter bikes out there. These guys have placed a Suntour front fork suspension with 100mm of travel that you can lock out and adjust, a Suntour seat post suspension with 50mm of travel, and you've got built-in shocks underneath a very large and comfortable Velo soft saddle. For paved surfaces, this is just awesome. Doesn't matter if you're going slow or fast. And then for off-road, I had this weird moment where things didn't make sense because I was sitting in an upright commuter posture, but was experiencing mountain bike suspension. It just wasn't congruent. Anyways, you'd feel very comfortable taking this off-road. Now I would be careful as far as sand and gravel. You've got some decent tread on the tires. These are more gravel tires, but they are thin, so just keep that in mind. They could slip a little in loose soil. Now most step-through bikes typically have a slower acceleration. It's actually a comfortable and smooth start. Not a ton of power off the line so you don't have to hold on tight. And once you are moving, the power comes on in a way that's not jerky or intense. Now this does have a torque sensor, so if you want a faster or more poppy start, just increase how much pressure you put in the pedals. As far as speed, when casually pedaling, I could only top out at around 20 miles per hour, and I was working for that speed. Once I increased my cadence, that's when I topped out at 27 miles per hour. And at that cadence, it didn't take long for me to start breathing heavy. So if you want to get some exercise, this will give it to you. If you don't want that, then use the throttle, which tops the bike out at the same speed. And if you want a mixture of both, the transition in power between throttle and pedaling is seamless. Now, if you live in an area with hills, I think you'd be okay. You do have to help it out, but I was able to make it up a short 26% grade. And then as far as brakes, no complaints there. This has got some higher end Tektro hydraulic. Last of all is range. I did a range test with an average speed of 25 miles per hour and got 17.89 miles with 1,386 feet of elevation gain. I had a bunch of stop and go and used the throttle the entire time. And one thing I like to see as I run this test is the power consistency. The bike was still hitting 24 miles per hour with 10% battery left.
Battery's almost dead, I'm still going 24 miles an hour.
So what do you think? Are the bikes that are made in Texas better? Well, I'm not sure about all bikes that are made in Texas, but I thought this was a pretty good one. I liked how these guys paid attention to detail, especially when it came to comfort. I thought that this is one of the most comfortable commuter bikes out there. So let me know what you guys thought, and if you have any questions about the X. As always, thanks for watching, and take care.